Hey everyone, today we're going to be breaking down a blueprint for starting an Amazon business right here in Australia. We're going to get into the strategy, the common traps that trip up almost every beginner, and, maybe most importantly, the big mindset shift that really separates success from failure.
So let's just jump right in with the biggest question our source material tackles head-on. Why do so many people get excited, start an Amazon business in Australia, and then, well, fail within the first year? It's a super common story, but the reason why it happens is almost always misunderstood.
And there it is. This is the core argument from our source. The problem isn't the platform, and it's definitely not that it's impossible to succeed. The real issue is that people just don't get how different the Australian market actually is.
Okay, and just for full transparency here, the guide we're pulling from today also points people toward a paid coaching program. We're just mentioning that so you have the whole picture as we dig into all the strategic advice.
All right, let's get into the good stuff. Here's the plan. We're going to start with the main problem, then look at the opportunity versus the reality. After that, we'll cover the biggest mistakes beginners make, lay out the real blueprint, talk about the hard truths of launching, and finally, wrap up with that all-important mindset piece.
First up, the Amazon Australia problem. And as you can see, it's not about Amazon itself. The problem is the approach that almost all beginners take right out of the gate.
You know, the huge disconnect really happens when new sellers take generic advice, usually stuff that's meant for the US market, and then try to paste it onto Australia. They're basically playing a totally different game with the wrong rulebook, and that's exactly where it all starts to fall apart.
So that leads us perfectly into our next point, opportunity versus reality. This is all about cutting through the noise and separating the online fantasy from the hard facts of what it really takes to build this kind of business.
On one side, you've got the fantasy that's sold to us all the time, this idea of a simple, almost effortless side hustle that just prints passive income. But the reality, as our source really hammers home, is that this is a real business. It needs structure, it needs a strategy, and it needs some serious focus.
But here's the upside, and it's a pretty big one. The Australian market still has a really unique edge. I mean, compared to a totally saturated market like the US, there's way less competition, fewer super sophisticated sellers, and a customer base that's trusting Amazon more and more every day. The opportunity is absolutely real.
But seizing that opportunity is, well, it's where people go wrong. So let's look at the specific traps. This section is all about the most common beginner mistakes that can totally sink a new Amazon store before it even gets a chance to float. These are the absolute classics. First, blindly following product advice meant for the US. Second, jumping into categories that are already packed with competitors. Third, and this is a big one, ordering way too much stock up front and tying up all your cash. Then you've got people ignoring the real landed costs, like shipping and GST. And finally, thinking a cool logo is all you need to make sales.
And this brings us to a huge reality check from the source. Listen, the whole point of your first product is not to fund your dream lifestyle. The point is to learn the entire Amazon system, from finding a product to getting it to customers while risking as little money as possible. Think of it as your education, not your winning lottery ticket.
Okay, so if those are the mistakes to avoid, what's the right way to do it? This next section lays out the actual blueprint, and it's all about replacing guesswork with a clear, disciplined strategy. The product selection strategy is really all about one thing: reducing your risk. That means you've got to find products with low competition. Keep it simple. No complicated electronics, no batteries, no hazardous materials. Steer clear of things that are seasonal or come in a bunch of different sizes. Seriously, every single rule here is designed to stop a potential disaster.
And this slide? Oh man, this is where so many people's plans just fall apart. Most beginners only budget for the actual product cost. They totally forget about shipping, import taxes, Amazon's cut, having a budget for ads, and a cash buffer for when things go wrong. Our source warns that this mistake alone can mean underestimating your startup costs by literally thousands of dollars.
So, you've picked a smart product, you've budgeted correctly, now it's launch time. This section is here to cut through all the hype and give you the hard truth about what it takes to actually get your product selling. Let's just be crystal clear on this, and I'm quoting directly from the source here. Your product will not magically sell. The whole fantasy of overnight success, it's just that, a fantasy. Real success on Amazon comes from a deliberate, sustained effort to get it off the ground.
See, success isn't just one single event. It's a whole process of building momentum. You launch the product, then you run advertising to get eyeballs on it. That advertising leads to your first sales and hopefully some reviews. And all of that together creates what's called sales velocity. And that's the key metric that signals to the Amazon algorithm that it should start showing your product to more people.
And that brings us to our final, and you could argue, most important section. This is all about the core mindset shift that is absolutely non-negotiable if you want to succeed.
So here it is, the crucial distinction. If you're coming into this looking for easy, hands-off passive income, the answer is no. This just isn't the business for you. But if your goal is to build a real, tangible asset that you can even sell one day, then yes, you're absolutely on the right track.
Because, at the end of the day, the goal isn't just one successful product. It's about developing the skill set. It's about building a repeatable system that you can use to find, launch, and grow products over and over again. Once you have that system down, that becomes your real long-term asset.
And so that's the fundamental question we're left with. It's the one you have to ask yourself. Are you here to build a valuable long-term skill set, or are you just chasing a fantasy? Because your answer to that, well, that's probably going to determine your outcome.